Over here it says Delhi gets 400 new e-buses, fleet strength goes up to 800. It's really great that the G20 is happening over here, and the Delhi's bus fleet has also been taken care of. But people are already worried about what is going to happen in these 3 days. People who are living in the national capital, in Lajpat Nagar, in various areas in and around the peripheries of Lutyens, Delhi, what is going to happen? On the other hand, illuminating dark spots, more CCTVs, security has been beefed up at the metros and the railway stations. There is going to be proper crowd control, ladies and gentlemen, and they've been readied as the city is on alert. Animal NGO protests, ways dogs have been rounded up. The MCD has rejected those charges. A lot of people are saying that a lot of dogs
also
have been
yesterday there was a
Hmm.
surprise G20 drill by the Delhi police that resulted in
Right.
huge traffic jams, especially
But
in
the
some
city has certainly come to life, hasn't it, Varghese? I don't know if
I
you
mean,
visited
it's come
Delhi.
to,
We've got those visuals. Let's throw them up there because the city has completely been decked up.
It's
and
been completely
looks
transformed.
so
It's been
beautiful.
beautified. Yeah. Yes, these are the visuals I was talking about in the night on that.
And that's the theme of G20: one Earth, one family, one future. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is what the Prime Minister was also talking about when he gave that exclusive interview to the Press Trust of India.
Well, but G20 is supposed to be one of the key highlights of his government's program for this particular term of his prime ministership, and he has been focusing on it for almost 2 years. He has been having several of those side meetings of G20 also planned out. But Kabir, let's come to the serious business now. We know that Biden, there was a scare, of course, with Jill Biden being tested COVID positive, whether Biden will be able to, in fact, attend or not. But then you have the Chinese president also skipping it. But at the end of the day, no matter what the politics is that's happening on that front, it looks like Delegates have been given.
Xi Jinping is going to miss out on all of this, Varghese.
All
of the beautiful,
whatever the
decking
politics
up of the national capital,
whatever
Xi
the
Jinping is going to miss it out.
whatever the international politics would be, I think Delhi, at the end of the day, the people of Delhi have benefited from this meeting being in Delhi, because it just beautified the city really, really well. Delhi looks really good now. Delhi has, I mean, it's that great thing about showcasing your capital. It's been beautified in certain places.
That was the
rightly
Pragati
pointed
Maidan
out.
Convention Center. If you if you missed that out, did you look at the interiors? How magnificent the entire hall looks like. Take a look at that. It's got a weird new look to it, and I can of course see the architectural inspiration that has been taken
from
the emblem as well.
If you look at the interior design of that structure, it has also phenomenal. There have been aspects of trying to make it look more of a postmodern, but at the same time having that Indian ethos as well. So that's the kind of interior design that we have seen over here. But the fact remains is that Delhi, a lot of places that were having these dark spots, they have been cleared. International summits like this happening in Delhi has resulted in Delhi actually being completely beautified. It's become, certain areas of the city have been completely transformed with fountains, with, small gardens, turnabouts. Everything has been transformed in and around Delhi, and it's a completely transformed city that we see for the G20 summit. As I told you before, the beautification is great. I hope after the meet, they don't uglify it.
Well, absolutely. And the first guest arrives. Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in New Delhi yesterday. Tinubu, the first head of delegation to arrive for the G20 summit, was received by the MOS Health SP Singh Baghel at the airport. The MES spokesperson Arindam Bagchi tweeted that this is the Nigerian president's first visit to India since he assumed office. But that's not all. At the same time, the summit is going to keep the Delhi's airspace busy as well. A lot of people have been asking me whether, they can fly in during the G20 summit. Can they fly out during the G20 summit? How does that happen? In case your flight does land, what way do you take to different parts of the national capital region? Is something people are already talking about. And airlines have been given the options to reschedule as well. So there's going to be a lot of rescheduling, which is why the government also put out plans way well in advance so that people couldn't, plan out their travel accordingly. And at the same time, Varghese, take a look at this. Sculptures of Natraja, dancing girl, to greet delegates at the venue. Natraj sculpture installed outside the Bharat Mandapam, which is the convention center that we were just looking at. A 27-foot Natraj sculpture has been installed outside the Bharat Mandapam ahead of the G20 summit, which weighs around 20 tons and took around 3.25 lakh man-hours to take shape. The government has clarified that officials from the Ministry of Culture say that the sculpture was created by the traditional sthapatis of the Swami Malai, who specialize in Hindu temple architecture using the lost wax casting process as per the measurements mentioned in the Sipa Shastra. The Silpa Shastra refers to the ancient Hindu texts that are considered as manuals for sculpture and Hindu iconography.
Well, that is a very beautiful Natraja statue that they have in fact put. It is one of the most well-recognized symbols of India as well, because it has been effectively used in the West. It's a symbol that a lot of people do recognize with, and of course, it's find its position in this G20 summit as well.
We also have Nancy Borab with us on the broadcast. Nancy, a very good morning to you. Joe Biden is going to come, Xi Jinping might not come, and all that diplomacy is going to take place. But what's the youth perspective on the G20 summit? Is that something that the youngsters are excited about? I mean, you and I, we both certainly have a long weekend to look up to. But more than that, are the youngsters talking about it? Are they excited about the G20 summit? It's the first time it's happening. The group of 20 nations coming together in the national capital.
Well, definitely, Kabir. I think the most important thing that I think that this after after Chandrayaan, after Aditya, I think the youth is just so much excited about India's global image and the geopolitical relation that I don't think so that my generation have ever been interested in. And the most important thing that I was reading the newspaper and I saw the headline that we are going to provide UPI to the G20 delegates. And I think it was so important that, I get it, the transforming of the roads, the cleaning, the decorating Delhi and everything is fine. But, India choosing correct aspects to, showcase our country's image, to showcase our global image is so important that India is taking it seriously, because we want to show our technological platforms, we want to show our digital infrastructure. So that will, set us apart from other countries. So I think that, G20, we are heading the G20 presidency right now, and India choosing the correct platforms, the correct aspects to showcase right now is so empowering to see. India is finally, coming out as a global power, to coming out as a very strong economy. And my generation is being so, everybody's talking about G20, Biden is coming, we have to talk about the, all the talks that they had in June when the PM's state visit. And I think it's so important to see that my youth is being so interested.
Well, it seems like we're having technical difficulties over there. We're going to quickly try and connect back with Nancy. But, she does talk about the excitement that the youth has, Varghese. And an important and interesting point that Nancy did pick up was that India is going to be putting forth its digital infrastructure to be seen, to be showcased in front of the entire world.
That digital infrastructure
from
part
UPI
of
payments.
Yes.
The German minister who was here, he was taken aback. He made that UPI payment at the vegetable vendors. And he was taken aback. And
see, India's UPI, it's not about technology. It's not about UPI. It's a technology, because any country can replicate it. The question is, how do you make sure that everyone is comfortable enough to use it? That is what the aspect of the UPI has been. When it comes to especially foreign governments who are trying to understand how is the safety provided, how easily it is accessible, how easily it can be in fact benefited for those target groups that need that special kind of aspect of giving them that extra push. So those are the factors that they are looking at more than the technology part of it. So how they socially pushed the UPI as a concept for everyone in society, especially India, cutting across various economic, caste, cultural aspects, how they were able to push that across is something interesting for them. And they would, some of them would actually want to replicate it as well, the ease of carrying out with an electronic way of doing business.
Many people, I think most people now make digital payments. They're not really carrying their wallets with them. And even as we're talking about that, take a look at this. It says Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman at the Global FinTech Fest says need to set up framework to handle challenges related related to crypto assets. Even as we're taking that step towards the digital, crypto is becoming the crypto, blockchain, all this technology and all these new various forms of payment is something again that the youngsters are really dealing into. And not just that, people have started heavily investing in all of this. But the beauty of the national capital over there on the big wall, Varghese, one thing is for certain, and which is something that you've hit the nail on the head on, is that the Delhiites are definitely going to be benefiting from this.
They are going to benefit from this, especially from the beautification process. A lot of showcasing what India has become in the last 10 to 15 years, especially when we've seen a stable economic growth. G20 being held now is at a precise time. And of course, India has a lot to showcase. India is looking for more cooperation. African Union's entry is again the big thing about it, because AU as a permanent member would add more heft to this G20 meeting.